Hello, everyone. Welcome to ELI, the place where you get your daily dose of inspiration for entrepreneurship. And today we have with us Mr. Sameer Dhanrajani, who is the CEO of 3AI. And 3AI is India's largest platform for AI and analytics leaders and professionals. And Sameer is also an expert in the field of AI. Hi, Mr. Sameer. Welcome to ELI.
Thank you so much, Ranjan, for inviting me over. Pleasure.
Before we start recording, I have heard a lot about you, and I was also doing a lot of research on you. But if you can brief yourself a little bit about to our audience and tell the audience why they should listen to you, why you should be considered as an expert in the field of AI. Little bit of background.
Sure. First of all, a disclaimer, I'm not an expert because whosoever claims the world of AI is so fungible, so I would say fast changing. We are all learning actually day by day. But one thing I can say, which proves to an extent that I've been into this field for long, is 27 years in the industry, and last 22 of my 27 years have been into data, AI, analytics, and Gen AI. So my bread and butter essentially comes from AI analytics. That's what I can say.
Okay, so is it like where analytics and AI meet? That is where you work, right? Or
See, for the ones who have seen the evolution of now Gen AI, I keep on saying that what was MIS 25 years back has become Gen AI. There
hmm.
has been a sea change in terms of how data, uh, from being a problem solver to now whole aspect of AI able to take decisions for the enterprises and humans is altogether different. And that's the journey what MIS to Gen AI has led to in last 25 years, actually.
Got it. I would also clarify this to our audience that when they hear the term analytics, they assume that it is something around just reporting and data. But yeah, data is used, but they're much more closely linked with AI than we realize. And I think analytics is the building block of any AI model out there. Having said that, Samir ji, please tell us. What kind of work do you do at 3AI, and which are the companies that you have worked for so far?
Sure. So first of all, about 3AI, this started like a serendipity. A very dear friend of mine, Pankaj, 5 years back or rather 4 years back, told me, "Hey, you are well connected in the ecosystem. Why don't you create a platform which brings AI, analytics, data leaders together? And you should form this community on a platform." And we started January 2020, and COVID stuck in March 2020. So just 2 months where we had made so much of investments in technology, we realized that what is the next path? But as it happened, it took us 6, 7 months to really create a traction around this platform where we were bringing the best of the leaders around AI, analytics, and Gen AI, and asking them to disseminate the knowledge across the various, I would say, aspects of image classification, to computer vision, to NLP, text, which actually started getting resonated, which is where the members started coming on the platform
Hmm.
to a stage today where we have 38,000 members across 32 countries and 1,100 by and wide assessed top of the line AI analytics leaders from 975 organizations. So that's the range and the scale and outreach what we have. And previously, I worked as a chief of strategy for Fractal. Before Fractal, I was the global head of analytics and data science for Cognizant. Started their entire analytics data science practice way back in 2012.
Hmm.
And before Cognizant, I was the country head for Fidelity National Financial. It's a shared service center based out of Bangalore. So created their entire tech operations and analytics team as a part of the shared service. And previously, I've worked with Jetis, Genpact, and Gillette in my formative years.
Got it. So out of the 900 plus companies that you work with, can you pick two or three domains where you have seen a lot of traction, and what are some of the popular use cases that you have been seeing?
So, Priyaranjan, it's a very broad question, but let me paraphrase. See, over the years of my 2 decades of AI analytics experience, I must have worked on around 3,000 odd projects.
Mm-hmm.
This I'm saying across my different organizations, including what I do at AI Create, which is my another AI consulting and advisory firm. If I take 17 different verticals of the industry, right from banking to retail, CPG, healthcare, manufacturing, life sciences, to about nine broad business functions, which is HR, supply chain, customer, ops, or other
Mm-hmm.
areas, the variety of projects, what I have seen is very phenomenal. I'll give an example. Earlier, analytics used to solve problems.
Mm-hmm.
Today, AI is helping organizations take decisions.
Right.
I'll give an example. If a chief marketing officer for a large beverage company or a large D2C company wants to understand what exactly is the sale of their 100 SKUs or let's say 200 product lines,
Mm-hmm.
in the earlier analytics mode, it would have taken that particular person some days, some hours to do it, get on, let's say, on the side of the table.
Mm-hmm.
Today with AI, it's possible to get in 1 second on mobile, on laptop, or any device. And that's real time change.
Mm-hmm.
What is the difference with AI? As you mentioned, AI is nothing but the sophistication of image, voice, text, and video side of analytics.
Right.
Essentially, AI is trying to mimic the human brain. The
Mm.
ability of the brain is to act, perceive, learn, and grasp. This is what image, voice, text, and video is trying to do. So a
Right.
machine is capturing all these new sources of data. Let's say you and me are recording this session, kind of a thing. How exactly is my behavior? What
Right.
exactly are the lines on of my face are saying? Am I really attentive? Are you really glued in? So this is something what the behavior pattern can be analyzed by using image, voice, text, and video. And
Right.
this can be done as a part of different use cases for different organizations.
So everything, what I take away from this, what you just said is everything has got a pattern. Everything that humans do, or even every phenomenon of nature also has a certain pattern, and machines, once they become sophisticated enough, they pick that pattern, and they try to, they can now forecast what will happen in the future. So that's one use case of AI. And I think the patterns is at the fundamentals of any AI model out there. uh,
Absolutely. Absolutely. As we keep on saying, there is an analogy like any accused who does any crime leaves a clue or a cue.
hmm,
Same way, every data leaves a pattern. It's just that one needs to build those insights out of those patterns.
right. I think December of 2022, I think that is when Chat GPT was released, and instantly everybody just was just signing up to Chat GPT and was using it. Everybody was so much blown away with the capabilities it had at that time. Nobody had seen it. It was like everybody saw fire for the first time. Uh, can you tell, like, what was that moment for you? Like, what impact did it have on you and your venture, and what transition have you seen around the AI as a keyword inside the business domain that you operate in? How interested have companies become on their AI strategy? I think we have seen a significant change after that.
So that was a very profound moment, Ranjan, when ChatGPT was launched. You started in the beginning when you introduced me, you said an expert and all. So all the folks who claim to be an expert into AI analytics became learners after ChatGPT.
Hmm.
And I'll tell you the reason. What is the most fragile thing about humans today? It's our ego. And ego comes from the knowledge.
Right.
The knowledge which is what you possess, what I possess. Now, if the same knowledge, intelligence, starts getting more by the machine, and the machine starts becoming, I would say, smarter,
Mhm.
Obviously, humans will have challenges. This is exactly ChatGPT has done. This democratization of intelligence, ability of extracting information at speed, at real time, is what is the most profound, most revolutionary piece which has ever happened for the human mind, mankind. See, we had those lot of, I would say, technology revolutions in the past, Y2K moment, cloud, big data, kind of a thing. Different new technologies like AR, VR, blockchain, cybersecurity came. But this is something very, very, I would say, different because the ability for the organizations to really become smart, the ability of the humans to really challenge kind of a thing that they can do the best of the thing at the drop of a button, the ability of a senior citizen or a kid to get instant knowledge about any area is very, very profound. And this is exactly what ChatGPT through OpenAI has done actually.
Yeah, I actually heard some analogies like back in 1990s when internet was new. Everybody thought it had so much potential, but now look at 2020. Internet was everywhere and was the fundamental thing in every industry. Without internet, no industry can work. And you can see the example. One day, Microsoft was not working, and everything got disrupted. The flights were cancelled. Stock market crashed, and everything is so much dependent on internet. So how do you envision a world after 20 years? Because now the AI adoption is happening at the same pace. Everybody just, AI is being taught at school level. All the working professionals are using AI. Every department in the company, if it is marketing, they are writing advertisement copies with AI. Recruiters are scanning the resumes using AI. So, so fast adoption is happening at such a fast pace. How do you project, how do you envision 20 years from now?
See, it's a very interesting but very, very, I would say, uh, a question for everyone to ponder about or mull over, Priranjan, because one, AI will have impact on three segments: enterprises, which are organizations, could be large, small, or medium. Second, government, because as we speak today, 68 countries have their own AI policy or they are creating AI policy for their own countries or their for own nations. Third is society or humanity overall. Now, if we take enterprises today with the Chat GPT, OpenAI, organizations have no option but to become Gen AI first or Gen AI enabled, which
Mhm.
means whatever sources of data they're capturing, image, voice, text, and video, needs to start getting into pattern making, insights generation, HR, finance, marketing, supply chain, customer experience, everything will get Gen AI enabled.
Mhm.
The piece over there for enterprises to note earlier, what used to take years to build will now be done in a months or
Right.
days together because that's exactly what OpenAI is doing.
Mhm.
Second, for the governments, the thing around protecting data, the thing around creating that AI policy for their own benefit, let's say for agriculture. Today, you can determine a crop pattern using AI. You can determine all space exploration projects using AI. You've seen all these movies, kind of a thing, where all these things are today getting very prevalent.
Right.
Humanity. How does one up the ante on the knowledge through
Mhm.
AI, whether it's about the students or anyone who's kind of, let's say, senior citizens, what we call assisted learning? Now,
Mhm.
this is where the brighter side will see a lot of scaling up, but every revolution come with also with the flip side. The ones who do not know, the one I say novice, naysayers, or who are still learning the ropes, will have
Mhm.
challenges understanding this technology, where any wrong usage, as you rightly said, that sometimes we get to understand that look, AI is controlled by humans.
Mhm.
It's like a switch button where yes for right things, no for the wrong things. And that button is controlled or managed by humans. So if any wrong instances they're trying to do, let's say the scamming or phishing uh, through AI or deep fakes kind of a thing through AI will have challenges not only for the humanity or let's say organization, but for nations and geographies as well. And someone also said that 10, 15 years, 20 years from now, maybe the next war will be fought around AI only.
Hmm. I think you mentioned movies. I heard this somewhere that there was a big production house, and they were building a multi-billion-dollar studio, and they stopped its construction because they just saw how different AI models are now generating video clips, and in a short time they'll be able to generate full movies altogether with storyline, with music, with all the characters and everything. So,
Not only that, Priranjan, there just to extend to what you said. Now, the personas of the audience or the viewers, let's take Netflix or Amazon Prime, the two biggest OTT today. They
mhm,
are trying to get the persona understanding. What you watch, let's say, is a fiction versus what I watch, let's say, comedy, are two different things. Now, basis that, one movie, one, let's say, kind of a, let's say, title, video title may have different ending. I'll give an instance. Let's say
mhm,
you like a lot of serious stuff, but I like a bit of comedy, assuming. Now, we've all seen Sholay and grown through the years. Now, what if for you, when you're watching Sholay, will have a serious ending, and I may have a not so serious ending, but the
mhm.
movie remains the same. So that bases the persona, the genre, and the ending may differ of the
Wow.
same movie. So that's something which I call the infinite possibilities of Gen AI.
Wow, this is so interesting. In fact, there was a Netflix series called Black Mirror. They also experimented around the same line for so based on there were different questions asked during the episode, and when you answer those questions based on your response, the movie's plot changes after that. So that was really interesting. But my question here is, there are so many industries and so many people dependent on these jobs, like so many people working in the movie and entertainment industry. All of a sudden, one big release from, say, OpenAI, and this industry is gone. Uh, so can you share some of those possibilities? How does it apply to other industries? And uh, will there be a scenario when all the many of the jobs will be lost to AI?
So the question we need to ask, Priyaranjan, we have seen, some of us have seen this revolution before as well. Agriculture revolution, industrial revolution, then we have software revolution, now the AI revolution or the Gen AI revolution. Did the jobs got lost? Yet, to an extent, yes, to an extent, but a lot of the jobs were reskilled. I mean,
Mhm,
people who were in the agriculture got used to working in the industries as well. The industry workers got used to the services side as well, or the software side as well. Now, think of this when we're talking about an AI, Gen AI revolution. And if you look at some of the reports by McKinsey, World Economic Forums, and all, they've all predicted in the next 5 to 10 years, there'll be actually a net addition of 500,000 or rather 500,000,000 jobs, as
mhm,
opposed to, let's say, the jobs getting lost. These net addition of 500,000,000 jobs will across the globe will come from new areas.
mhm,
When I say new areas, it's like how are you assisting machines and AI together? You still need humans. I mean, in the agriculture, assuming everything goes well with the usage of AI, you still need farmer to understand what is the pattern, seasonality, and all. You still need a lawyer, even though a lot of legal judgments will go through AI to really understand the intuition of the humans, the
mhm,
one who has committed a crime. Creativity, innovation has always been a very, very fundamental aspect of human brain. Now,
mhm,
a machine being machine cannot anticipate some of these things, despite the machine being very, very, I would say, sophisticated. You take the example of Tay. Tay was a kind of a robotic machine which was launched by Microsoft 2009. So I'm talking about good 15 years back. Of course, the machines were not sophisticated.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea was that just like ChatGPT, it will answer everything together. Within minutes of going live, it started giving wrong answers.
Okay.
Microsoft had to pull it down. Again, a case which was 15 years back to a stage which is OpenAI. But
Mm.
again, the point, what I'm trying to say, whether it's a creative field or a field which also includes manual labor, you still need human interventions and human engagement as well.
Got it. Speaking of wrong answers, I think this is one interesting question that many people are curious about. So when you use Chat GPT, there is a tendency that it will give you wrong answer when you go a little deeper into, if you try to extrapolate it a little more, then the answers get wrong. So for example, you ask Chat GPT to do some research on anything, but it will hallucinate and it will give you some made up answers. Even the sources can be made up. So those sort of things are still happening with Chat GPT. So can you tell like why this is happening in the first place, and in future will it be corrected, or is it a general nature of AI to give wrong answers and hallucinate and make up things?
See, hallucination has two fundamental reasoning. One, no data is perfect. It's like no human is perfect. If you do this session with me 15 times
Mhm.
and ask the same question, I will give response 15 times differently
Right.
because I can't repeat, I can't remember what I said, kind of a thing. So the responses will be. If you take the machine, what is happening today? One, hallucinations are happening because the data is ever changing today. Because today, let's say if the stock market goes up and tomorrow there is some crash because of an X economy going down or some kind of a issue happening in one of the political country, it will take time for the data to reflect that. And the machine may not be that sophisticated. And that's the reason it will hallucinate. Second, we also got to realize it's been less than 2 years. OpenAI, ChatGPT, DALI, and other Sora, which is getting launched, are still at an infancy stage. I mean, it has taken 15, 20 years for any AI machine or AI tool to get more sophisticated.
Mhm.
Because there are two challenges what anyone is facing today in AI. One, the same data, if gets what we call massaged by the machine, will throw different result. Second, the data is getting exhausted. If you look at the reports, I mean, even though machines are generating synthetic data, but even the synthetic data in the time to come will start getting exhausted. So in fact, the next level of what we are saying issues, political scenario may happen where not only companies are buying new data, but nations will start buying new sources of data.
Mhm.
It's not about just voice, it could be image, text, video as well. So, which is where I think the more data sources it starts coming up,
Okay.
which is where the machine will start getting more better and hallucination will start getting mitigated. You can't eliminate hallucination, but to an extent, if the data sources are right and real time, it will start getting mitigated as well.
Got it. So, when you try to make a AI model more intelligent, you have to feed in new data to it, and these data points are essentially generated by humans. And more often than not, these humans pass this data or give that data to companies without, even realizing, without giving explicit permission that, hey, you can use my data, something like that. So this is a issue of data privacy and security. So how do you see this as a challenge for both countries and individuals to regulate the data feeding, or without explicit permission, companies are using data. For example, all the Google searches that are made, Google is using that data to train their AI model, and similarly, all other companies are doing so. How can the companies be regulated, and what sort of changes can governments bring to regulate this stuff?
See, it's two sides of the coin, Priyanshi. One, if we talk about personal scenario, everyone was asked about their permission when they logged in into Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, or let's say Snapchats and all. We gave
Mhm,
our permission to kind of have these companies access that data. So the genie is already out of the bottle,
mhm,
which also meant that over the years, all these organizations and beyond have trained the data very well to create new revenue streams, which has also resulted, very true what you said, in certain what we call tech monopolies happening.
mhm,
And if we look at the same scenario, this is exactly what the manufacturing revolution did. A couple of large enterprises, conglomerate as we call it, created monopolies. Today we have the monopolies of the tech, some of these tech organizations as well, and everyone knows whom I'm talking about. But having
mhm,
said that, privacy regulations is something what, if you take today, the governments are picking up very rightly as a part of saying that this is a sovereign issue. It's a sovereign risk. Take the EU Act. Very clearly, 8, 9 years into now implementation, the European companies and the companies who are trying to enter Europe are very clear what not to do
mhm,
because there are associated punitive actions, penalties, and strictures as well. Same thing US has also done. So
mhm.
as rather, I would say countries like we also have in India our own Data Privacy Act, DRCP and all. As countries become more smarter in putting these regulations, the organizations which are actually trying to gain advantage will stop doing that because they will realize the pitfalls. If you take this is exactly what Middle East trying to do. Middle East is very clear. Anything they want to create has to be in their own sandbox in the Middle East. Data cannot go out, but that doesn't mean they are not encouraging companies to come in. What they want is that everything happens as a part of experimentation in terms of data in that sandbox within UAE. So this is exactly what different countries, nations will do by creating their policies. But what remains interesting is one size doesn't fit all.
Mm.
This is where some of the countries are going wrong. They're picking up use cases from Europe, US, and trying to say, can we work in our? No. It's again like data. If you use, let's say, the same customer data and I will interpret and you will interpret in two different ways. So the
Right.
countries will have to be very specific what ails them, what is good for them, and then draft their own AI policy, which
Mhm.
is very, very individualistic as a country than a sum total of other nations put together.
Got it. So just wondering, how effective are these data policies? Because every country has these policies, but we see that other companies, like companies which are not from India, they come, they train their models on India-based data, and there is also encryption. You can still send out data outside of India using encryption and all. So, I mean, they are, of course, a broad guideline, but there are still loopholes out there through which companies can do um, unethical stuff. Having said that, I just want to know how are countries preparing, like the data privacy and sovereignty. It's today's issue, but 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line, like you said, the next world war would be with data and AI. How are countries taking next level measures to prepare for that?
See, that's a very interesting question because today, instead of military supremacy, everyone is looking at AI supremacy. China, Middle East, Russia, UK, USA. Everyone wants to become AI dominant, which doesn't mean that they're trying to create, as we call it in military, AI weapons of mass destruction. No. I mean, nations are very clear what they would like to achieve through AI. Of course, there are nations who are thinking not so good side about AI. But let me also put a thing over there. Look, in the years, what we could not do well, and I'm talking more from India's side, we did not see this gathering of data what we call in AI terms, labeling and annotation as a serious business. I'll give an
Mhm.
instance. Today, India BPO industry is about 40, $45 billion.
Mhm.
Last 20 years, India BPO industry has become great. It has challenged different, I would say, countries, nation. Same prospect we had of making India as a labeling and annotation destination of the world, which means you gather sources of data, not just image or voice or text, but even videos.
Mhm.
Start putting that data as labeled and annotated, and then sell it for to different, I would say, countries or even enterprises. We
Mhm.
felt this is downstream. China went ahead, did that. Today, labeling and annotation in China is a $300 billion market.
Wow.
US started doing it. UK started doing it. Now we are realizing that, look, we need that labeling and annotation, what we call ML ops as an industry. If we would have done it 10 years back, this would have been as great as today BPO industry and would have also resulted in a lot of employment opportunities
Right.
for our professionals as well. But having said that, see, what is happening today is that if we take the use cases of AI or Gen AI, now since the maturity is not there, or it's still at an infancy stage, the number of opportunities it will generate from a data aggregation to kind of creating those problem solvers, to looking at domain experts, to AI ML modelers, to even liberal art guys who have a creativity, psychology bent of mind or sociology, and visualization guys who can actually narrate a story or output.
Mhm.
The opportunity will far more exceed in terms of new job generation as we see today, which is where countries, if they're smart enough, will realize that this is good in the long term. Then creating, let's say, those tools which can actually do drone attacks or spoil the crops of others, kind of a thing, or create those, what we say, new virus outbreaks in the nations. And
Mhm.
I think that's where nations are trying to position themselves, saying, good, AI for good becomes so supreme that it will generate new set of opportunities and will also result into GDP gain as well. If you take India, it's very clear the report which has said that by 2030 we expect 1 trillion of GDP getting generated by just AI, Gen AI itself, which is substantial. By 2030 we're expected to be what, about 10, $12 trillion. So very, very substantial GDP will also come from AI.
Got it. Uh, Another aspect of AI, I think everybody at least once discusses about it is what about if AI becomes more intelligent than humans? And we have seen so many movies around it. So it's definitely everybody thinks about it. I would like to hear your thoughts on that because someday the pace at which AI is improving, someday it will at least match the human level of intelligence. Of course, there are other aspects to human being, but when we talk about just intelligence, I think AI will cross that barrier. What would you say on that?
See, as I said, Priyaranjan, whenever this is not the first instance, industrial revolution, agriculture revolution, software, every time there has been a revolution, it has challenged the status quo of humanity, or let's say mankind first. Today, let's also realize that human beings are smart. They are smart enough to realize that, okay, what is that AI can do and what is that they have to do to get to the next level, which is where what I call upping the ante will happen. And as we mentioned in the earlier part of our conversation, that look, the new jobs or the reskilled jobs will be far more, I would say, upstream than what exists today. Now, for the ones who are saying, okay, the factory level jobs will be replaced by robots, or let's say we will not have floor level jobs. Let me tell you, you can get the robots, but at some level, you also need manpower to manage robots. Second, any change in assembly line, any new model of a car, let's say if it's a car manufacturing or a bike, needs human intervention. You can do the same level of job with the robots, but what if something changes in terms of new level, new version, new kind of a product? And that's where new set of, I would say, interventions of human and machine working together will come in. See, if we take a lot of theses which have been done by the academia predicting the AI for the next 10, 20 years, what is what you asked. Singularity is not about AI domination. Singularity is human and machine existing together itself, kind of a thing. I'll give an example. Let's say, I'm sure you have seen, if you take a lot of these skyscraper today, which needs cleaning because of the glass,
Mhm.
every time we have seen a human with a harness clinging onto the skyscraper, we would have said, why a machine cannot do this thing, right? Because it's so dangerous for a human to go in. Machines will start doing it. In fact, it's doing. Now, you can say that human will lose the job. No, that human will do something else
Mm.
meaningful. The daily chores or the daily downstream work will start happening by the machine. But what we call the next level of reskilling of the jobs will start happening through this new level of, I would say, human interventions.
Got it. Speaking now of reskilling, I think it's not as simple as we say, because first of all, think about a blue collar worker. For example, in this case, the person who was cleaning windows of skyscrapers, he needs to, probably doesn't have much idea into what is AI, how does it work, how to write a prompt inside AI model. So learning those things will take some time. So how would you suggest any working? So that's just an example, but I think AI will affect more white collar jobs than blue collar jobs. That I think that is something I have been hearing a lot, and I also believe. So to our listeners, what would you suggest? How should they reskill themselves? What are the things they should start learning, and from what sources, so that they become equipped for the future? They can effectively use AI and start become relevant for the new jobs that are created after the AI revolution.
So that's a very, very interesting, but my response to your question, Preranjan, is a bit provocative. And I'll tell you why. One, there'll be no 9 to 5 jobs in the future.
Mm.
Second, a person who starts a career will not end up with the same kind of a career in terms of a nature of job after 30 years.
Mhm.
Third, gig economy, gig workers will come norm of the day. Fourth, even during one particular, let's say, cycle of a job, a gig worker may start working for 3, 4 other employers as well. Fifth, if folks are assuming only AI related jobs will be there, they're highly mistaken. The net
Mhm.
new job additions, in addition to AI, will happen across, I would say, other segments as well. Let me give some interesting ideas out here. Now, if we take careers for Gen Alpha, Gen Z,
Mhm.
millennials, if you realize how they are thinking today, they want to look at their careers into a patches or a batches of 2 to 3 years. When I started my career, in the interviews, I was asked a question about how do you visualize 10 years from now? Those questions will not be asked. It will be how do you visualize 2 years from now? So the
Right.
careers will be a batches of 2 to 3 years max. And after, let's say, 2 or 3 years, they will do something else. So it's a classic case of I keep on saying, and I'm sure you would have watched this movie, Three Idiots.
Mm.
And there was a line which was narrated by Amir Khan. It's not about the studies which comes in the playbooks or the textbook. It's about ज्ञान कहीं पर भी हर जगह मिल रहा है बटोर लो. That's
Mm.
exactly what the Gen Alpha, Gen Z is trying to do. They're trying to get knowledge from different sources. Could be even
Right.
machine, could be a kind of a, let's say, class, even could be on the Wikipedia. And then trying to relate how does it gets implied. So applied knowledge becomes much more rather than acquired knowledge. So
Mhm.
if I tell you I have got into AI analytics for the last 20 years because of acquired knowledge. At the beginning of the session, I told you 3,000 projects. आगे चल के इसका कोई relevance नहीं है 3,000 projects का.
Mhm.
Because OpenAI, ChatGPT has all those 3,000 or plus इतने million projects and that it's almost like no one can claim that look I have done better than a ChatGPT. So which
Right.
is then the net addition of how you visualize career in terms of being more creative.
Hmm.
How do you think you can add more value to an existing job? I mean, look at this today. Can you replace sales professionals, customer experience associates who are into the field? No. That's a
Hmm.
job humans will always have. Can you take out, let's say, tomorrow machines, once they churn out algorithms, models, they need adoption.
Hmm.
Humans will be there to make and nudge humans to adopt these products, services, solutions. So there'll be a new set of evolution in the jobs. Hybrid workplace is a reality today. So
Hmm.
that's the reason, to the point what you said, that why, if one person is working on one job, is bound for one job only. So that's why employment contracts will go for a change. Those NDAs, those kind of strictures will come in place. But a similar profile can actually work in three companies at the same time and paid accordingly in terms of the output.
Hmm.
Gone will also be the time where you're just measured by the number of hours you're putting in. It will be outcome based. You do
Right.
one SOW, you do one sale, you do one gig, or even you, I mean, create, let's say, 100 impressions in 3 seconds for a company. You're paid according to that, output based. So, those, what I call changes we don't see today, but will happen faster than what we anticipate actually.
Got it. My final question before we wrap up the session. All these years of entrepreneurship and being into technology domain, what is your advice to future entrepreneurs who are trying to create something new, who are just brainstorming, say two, three friends are, thinking together, let's build something. What would you advise them? How to go about entrepreneurship and which all domains to pick?
So, few learnings, which is what I would like to highlight out here, Priyaranjan. One, start early. Entrepreneurship is learned best when you start early because the failure and the adoption aspect comes alongside. Second, it's not for the faint-hearted because for the ones who always said that they've seen success, whether in their academics or let's say career, are bound to fail in entrepreneurship because the law of probability comes into the picture. Third, best to have a team, whether it's an entrepreneur team, co-founding team, or a set of team which is building any product or service or solution for you. Do not do everything on your own. You are not bound to succeed because one trick pony doesn't work in entrepreneurship.
Hmm.
Fourth, patience and resilience. If someone doesn't have, start learning because results don't come overnight. Those flukes or serendipity, like WhatsApp or these things, are aberrations kind of a thing. You don't get to see those innovations at scale every day. So resilience and kind of patience, tenacity is has to be on the entrepreneur. Last but very important, what you are thinking today will be done by others the moment you launch it. Do not get married to your idea. Need to be fungible, need to be street smart, need to be hustler to ensure those changes, those kind of, let's say, aspects of fungibility on a real time basis. Because that's where the aspect of being an entrepreneur comes. And last, very important, keep a equal amount of proportion in whichever way. It's not about the hours that your professional life is equally important as a to personal life as well.
Hmm.
Because you can't just be thinking in a mode where you are just disregarding your personal life because everything has a impact in terms of how you perform.
That's so true. Thanks for joining us, Mr. Sameer. It was a pleasure to having you on our platform, and it was a great time spent with you. Thanks again for joining, and we wish best for all the ventures that you are building.
Thank you so much, Priyaranjan. Great conversation, and thank you so much, and all the best to ELI in the future as well. Thank you.
Thank you.